A New King of Terror. The year 1999 plus 7 months. From the sky will come a great king of terror. 14-year-old Kim Riley leaned back against the soft, high-backed chair and looked intently at the middle-aged female Ph.D. sociologist sitting behind the odd-shaped desk in front of her. "You're very high-strung for a girl of your age," the sociologist said softly. "I can't help it," Kim said. "I know. You have fears. The world is coming to an end. I can feel it," Kim said, twisting her fingers through the long strands of sandy blonde hair that came down past her shoulders. "What makes you think the world is ending?" the matronly brunette sociologist asked. "I read it in Strife." "Strife? That's a tabloid. You have to take what Strife says with a handful of salt. What did you read?" "It said Nostradamus predicted a giant fireball was going to crash into the earth this month and destroy the earth," Kim said. "It's right on the front page." "Strife will say whatever the Strife publisher thinks will sell Strife. Scientists, astronomers, are observing what's going on in the skies every day, every minute. They can tell if a large object is going to come close to Earth, long before it could possibly hit." "But will they tell us?" Kim asked weakly. "Yes, they'll tell us. Not only will they tell us, they'll do something about it," the sociologist said reassuringly, not knowing whether they really would or not. "That makes me feel much better. There's something else." "What's that?" "You remember I told you about my Uncle Paul?" "Yes, he's the psychic, right?" "Yeah, he's kind of a psychic. Déjà vu mostly. What does he have you worried half to death about this time?" Kim took the paper from her lap she'd brought along for show and tell and passed it across the desk. "Uncle Paul told me what Nostradamus quatrain to look for. I found it on the internet and printed it out for you to see." The sociologist read the paper. Century 10, Quatrain 72. L'an 1990, 9 mois. Du ciel viendra un grand roi de frères. Ressusciter les grands rois de Anglemois. Avant après Mars regner par bonheur. The year 1999 plus 7 months. From the sky will come a great king of terror, to bring back to life the great king of the Mongols, before and after war, to reign by good luck. Well, today is the 10th of September 2001, so stop worrying. The time of the prediction, 1999 plus 7 months, would be September of 2000, which has passed, the sociologist reassured her. "No, Uncle Paul said Nostradamus' prediction will happen a year later than that. It will happen in September of 2001. About now," Kim said, a tear slipping down her cheek. "How did he arrive at that deduction?" the sociologist asked, laying down the paper. "He said Nostradamus used the Julian calendar. We use the Gregorian calendar," he said. "He said September was the 7th month in the Julian calendar, therefore the year 1999 plus 7 months was September 2000 on the Julian calendar. He said the execution of King Charles I of England is recorded in both the Julian calendar system and in the Gregorian calendar system. In the Julian system, it is listed as 30 January 1648. In the Gregorian system, it is listed as 30 January 1649. Therefore, our present-day calendar, the Gregorian calendar instituted in 1582, shows 1 year later than the Julian calendar would show if we were using the Julian calendar today. Nostradamus' September 2000 would be our September 2001, he said." The sociologist picked up the paper again. "So your Uncle Paul thinks that about now is when a king of terror, who is like the king of the Mongols, Genghis Khan, wasn't it? Who will come swooping down from the sky and who, like Genghis Khan, will be a ruthless leader of some kind, and who will survive before and after war?" "Yes. I don't know where your uncle gets this stuff, but I assure you, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. I'm going to recommend a vitamin therapy for you. It will help settle your nerves. Our time is up, but I'll see you next week." Randolph McAllister stood behind his new black tripod near the large plate glass window of their luxurious penthouse suite that looked out over lower Manhattan. He was looking through the splendid, high-powered telescope his wife Maureen had gotten him for his birthday. Maureen was watching a soap opera on TV. She pressed the off button on the remote control. The TV went blank. She got up, went over, and stood by him. "What are you looking at so intently on such a beautiful blue sky morning?" she asked. Pigeons. Pigeons? I get you a $2,000 telescope and all you can look at is pigeons? Hundreds of pigeons landed over there on top of one of the towers of the World Trade Center. I'm waiting to see if they fly up again. I'm going to the kitchen to have Christina make me a toasted ham and egg sandwich. Do you want one? She asked. A sandwich? Yes. A ham and egg sandwich? No. Since we got back from vacation on that wild Samoan island, I can't get enough New York food. At the moment, I'm craving a hot pastrami on rye. I'll tell Christina. It had been 2 years since Randolph had taken a real vacation. He figured his lucrative company located on the 62nd floor of the World Trade Center could wait a couple more days for his return. His vice president, Phil Bourdin, could handle things a little longer. As he looked through the telescope at the place where the pigeons had landed, he thought he saw the roofline of the tower shaking. He thought it must be his imagination. Then he saw the pigeons suddenly take flight. He had seen pigeons take flight before, and he could tell that these pigeons had been scared off the roof. He tried to follow them with the telescope, but they scattered violently over the city. Then his eye caught the gigantic ball of flame as it suddenly leaped out of a gaping hole in the face of the tower. He trained the telescope down to it. "Oh, my God! My God!" His voice was hysterical. Maureen came running back from the kitchen, followed closely by Christina, the cook. "What is it? Are you having a heart attack?" Maureen asked excitedly. "Oh, my God!" he repeated again and again. Maureen and Christina looked out the window and saw the gigantic gash that had been ripped in the side of the tower. They saw great plumes of smoke coming out of it, and saw smoke rising from an adjoining face of the tower, moving up and over its roof. They were stunned. It was surreal. It couldn't be happening. But it was. One of the towers of the World Trade Center has been hit by something huge. Maybe a big airplane, Maureen thought. Christina screamed. "My brother is working at that building!" She screamed again and then made a dash for the elevator door. They looked down at the streets below and saw fire engines and police cars, their sirens screaming. "Turn on the TV. I'll call Phil," Randolph said hysterically. Maureen ran for the TV remote and turned on the set. She didn't have to search for a news channel. Pictures of the burning tower were on every channel. Randolph located his cell phone, hurriedly pressed the auto dial number for Phil's cell phone. His heart raced as he waited for Phil to answer. Finally, a breathless male voice answered. "Who is this?" "Phil?" Randolph yelled into the phone. "Phil, is that you?" "Randy?" "Yes. What the hell's going on?" "Something hit our building. It shook like hell. Now it's swaying like it's drunk. I can't talk. Have to evacuate with the others. Call you as soon as I get a chance." "Wait! What about Arnold?" The phone went dead in Randolph's ear. He pressed the auto dial number for Arnold's cell phone. No answer. On her way to school, Kim Riley stopped by a little shop that sold magazines and CDs. She'd calmed down a bit. The sociologist must be right, she thought, as she casually looked through some compact discs and picked out a couple. Then she heard a scream and looked around to see where it had come from. One of the shop clerk's arms was outstretched, her shaky finger pointing at the TV. "My God! A large plane has just crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center." Kim gazed at the screen in disbelief. She dropped the discs she had selected. "Mother!" she screamed and then went into hysterics. She ran out into the street, flailing her arms, and began running towards the burning tower where her mother worked. The fingers of Randolph's hand had turned white from gripping the telescope so tightly. He'd put his cell phone in the breast pocket of his shirt. He hoped it'd play its little tune so he can grab it and talk to Phil again, or to his son, Arnold. The phone in the living room rang instead. Maureen answered it. It was their daughter Rebecca in Cincinnati, calling to see if they were all right, to see if her dad had come off of vacation and returned to the office early. No, he had not. That was wonderful. Had they heard from her brother Arnold? No. My God. Was he in one of the towers? Yes, he probably had gone up to the company office. She tried to call him. The regular phones were all dead, and she hadn't been able to raise him on his cell phone. A powerful feeling of helplessness tore through Randolph's body. It drained him of strength. What's happening to my employees? To my son? Why can't they call? He wondered frantically. As he peered through the telescope, he saw paper floating down upon the air from tower windows. Like a million kites suddenly loosened from their strings, he thought. Then he heard the TV in the background. A newsman was saying that a second plane was heading for the other tower. Randolph whirled the telescope around, saw the second plane, another passenger jet, dive right into the tower like the axe blade swung by a giant. He saw a powerful, fiery explosion. "My God, we're being attacked!" he cried. He trained the telescope to where his company's offices were on the 62nd floor of the first tower to be hit. Smoke and fire from the violently exploding jet fuel were belching out of the windows, just above where his company's offices were. Looking through the zoomed-in telescope, it looked like the middle of an inferno. The TV newsman was saying that the President of the United States, making an appearance at a school in Florida, had just been notified that the second plane had struck a tower, which made it clear the events were no accident.